welcome to the deep dive. We're your shortcut, really, to getting truly well-informed without, getting completely buried into that mountain of information out there.
Exactly.
Here, we don't just glance at the headlines. We really dig into the stories, pull out the most important bits, and try to connect the dots in ways that, well, hopefully might surprise you a little.
That's the plan. Our mission today is to take this curated stack of fascinating sources we've gathered, covering, honestly, everything from really pressing global conflicts and, intricate political moves, right through to some incredible athletic achievements and, frankly, some quirky tech innovation.
I agree.
And we'll unpack what's most essential. We want to offer different perspectives, distill the core meaning, and fingers crossed, give you a few genuine aha moments along the way.
Think of us as your guides through all the complexity. We're here to help you navigate the stories shaping our world, hopefully with, just enough insight, maybe a touch of humor where appropriate, to keep you hooked.
You should walk away feeling much more well-versed in today's global currents and those curious corners we find.
Okay, sounds good. Let's unpack this. Global flashpoints and diplomatic chessboard. Let's start with a region that, well, tragically, just stays right at the forefront of global attention, the Middle East. Our sources are painting a deeply troubling picture from Gaza. There are reports detailing at least 46 individuals killed by Israeli gunfire in 2 separate incidents.
And the detail that just hits you.
Yeah.
These were people just waiting for humanitarian aid, just trying to survive.
It's hard to even comprehend.
It really is. And this isn't just another grim statistic. It's a stark illustration of the absolutely catastrophic humanitarian crisis that's unfolding there.
Right.
These events, these killings, they raise profound concerns about civilian safety, obviously, but also about the basic feasibility of even distributing aid in an active conflict zone like this.
Yeah, how do you even do it safely?
Exactly. And we saw Dr. James Smith characterize the situation as, quote, an illusion of humanitarianism. He even went further, describing it as a new phase in the genocide against Palestinians.
Strong words.
Very strong words, and they highlight this just agonizing disconnect, don't they, between the desperate human need for absolute basics, food, water, medicine, and the brutal reality on the ground.
It makes you ask, what does this level of, violence against people seeking aid tell us about the challenges?
Or perhaps even, the intentional roadblocks to delivering aid where it's most desperately needed. It's a really tough question.
It's an incredibly difficult reality to grapple with.
Yeah.
And then layered right on top of this tragedy, you have these really conflicting narratives swirling around about ceasefire progress.
Always, it seems.
Yeah. We've seen former U.S. President Donald Trump claiming that attacking Iran, his words, somehow led to significant advancements in the Gaza ceasefire talks.
Okay.
He even confidently stated that Tehran would be deterred from getting nuclear weapons for, quote, an extended period.
Right. But what are the specifics there?
Exactly. What's striking is the complete absence of any detailed information. No specifics on progress, no conditions mentioned in those initial reports.
Yeah.
It leaves you thinking significant advancements. According to who? Based on what evidence?
Yeah, it feels like a classic case of, political rhetoric maybe running quite far ahead of the observable facts. Now, on one hand, we did see a Trump administration envoy suggesting that U.S.-Iran talks were, quote, showing promise amid what they called a fragile ceasefire with Israel.
Okay, so some diplomatic talk happening.
Right, framing it as a potential breakthrough aimed at de-escalating the wider tensions in the Middle East. But and this is the really critical counterpoint, Al Jazeera reported Israeli attacks killing at least 51 people.
Oh, wow.
Around the very same time that Trump was signaling this supposed progress.
So completely different realities being presented.
Fundamentally different. And the core question for us as, informed observers is how do we reconcile these? What does it tell us about the, frankly, inherent complexities of peace negotiations, where public statements often seem designed to shape perception rather than reflect the immediate and often brutal reality on the ground?
It's that constant tension, isn't it, between the diplomatic messaging and the lived, often violent experience.
Precise.
That gap is definitely a recurring theme. And speaking of Iran, their foreign ministry recently made a pretty significant admission, something you don't often hear.
Oh, what was that?
They acknowledged significant damage had been inflicted on their nuclear program by a U.S. military strike They actually called it a major setback.
Wow, that is significant. Usually they downplay everything.
Exactly. It's just a direct, impactful hit. A rare confession, really.
It is, which makes the early U.S. intelligence assessment particularly interesting to contrast it with. Well, they painted a more nuanced picture, perhaps, less triumphant. They suggested these strikes only temporarily set back Iran's nuclear program by maybe a few months.
Only a few months, so a short-lived impact.
Potentially, yes.
Yeah.
Which underscores the complexities and maybe the limitations of military action as a tool for actually curbing nuclear ambitions long term.
Right. It's not always the silver bullet people hope.
Exactly. The fascinating takeaway here isn't just if the strikes caused damage, they clearly did, if Iran's admitting it, but how much damage and critically for how long. If we connect this to the bigger picture, it raises crucial long-term questions for regional security, for global non-proliferation efforts. It suggests that while military force might cause short-term disruption, it often fails to definitively stop a determined nation's nuclear program.
Okay, let's step beyond the Middle East for a moment and broaden our view. Other global power plays, regional tensions.
Yeah.
The Russia-Ukraine war, for instance. Still grinding on.
Day 12,017 now, I believe.
That's right. And recent Russian missile strikes on Dnipro in southeastern Ukraine were particularly devastating. Reports say 17 people killed, over 200 injured.
Just horrific. Another brutal reminder of the ongoing human costs, the targeting of civilian areas.
And the international response. Still focus on support for Ukraine, seeking a resolution.
Largely, yes. The international community remains centered on providing support, trying to find a viable resolution. But the sheer length and scale of this conflict, it just highlights its profound global implications.
It's not just regional, is it?
Not at all. It impacts global politics, security arrangements, humanitarian affairs, energy markets, even food security worldwide.
So what does this endless conflict really mean for international stability overall?
Well, it signifies a profound realignment of geopolitical alliances, doesn't it? It's a severe test of international law, of the principle of sovereignty, and it's a persistent, nagging challenge to the world's ability to deter aggression. Its ripples just keep spreading.
And partly in response, perhaps, to this heightened global insecurity, NATO, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, has made a big decision.
On spending.
Yes, increasing defense spending significantly. We're talking billions more dollars being allocated to armies and weapons across the member states.
Right. And this comes after years of pressure, particularly from the U.S.
Especially from former President Trump, yeah. He frequently criticized allies for not hitting that agreed-upon 2% of GDP spending target.
Well, this decision inevitably brings the financial reality into sharp focus, doesn't it?
How so?
A critical question immediately pops up. How will European governments, many already grappling with various economic challenges at home, how will they actually manage to cover these substantial extra costs?
Can Europe really afford it? What are the trade-offs?
Exactly. Can they afford this heightened spending without, significant fiscal pain, possibly impacting other public services, maybe needing tax rises? It's a tough calculation.
But the core commitment remains. Article 5.
That seems solid. Despite the financial questions, the bedrock principle of the alliance, the U.S.'s unwavering commitment to Article 5, collective defense, that remains the cornerstone.
Which must be reassuring for members.
Absolutely. It provides crucial reassurance, especially given the current global security challenges. But it does highlight that delicate balance for European nations between, alliance commitments and their own economic capacity.
Okay, let's shift our gaze now over to East Asia. More ongoing territorial friction there, too.
There seems to be a constant simmer.
Japan recently lodged a protest against China, this time about the construction of a new structure in a natural gas field. And it's in a territorially disputed area in the East China Sea.
Right, and this isn't just a one-off, is it?
Doesn't sound like it.
No, it's a prime example of these escalating tensions over resource development, and it's likely part of a broader series of assertive actions by China in disputed territories right across the region.
Competing for resources and influence.
Pretty much. What's fascinating here is how these seemingly localized actions, building a structure, sending ships, contribute to much broader geopolitical frictions in East Asia. It's like a continuous low-level chess match playing out over these disputed maritime boundaries.
And staying with regional tensions, but shifting south a bit, the Cambodia-Thailand border dispute. There was a clash back in May, And it's having a real impact, isn't it?
Yes, significantly impacting local communities. Reports talk about border closures, reduced cross-border movement. It's really disrupting daily life for people who live and work right there.
And the tension goes beyond just those border communities.
Oh, definitely. It influences political relations between the two countries, affects economic activities,
Yeah.
highlights the far-reaching consequences these territorial conflicts can have, even ones that seem relatively contained. And the International Court of Justice has been involved since 2015, so it's a long-standing issue.
Right. Now, still on the international stage, but focusing on diplomacy and summits, Chinese President Xi Jinping made a notable decision recently.
Regarding the BRICS summit.
Yes, he decided not to attend the upcoming BRICS summit in Brazil. Remember, BRICS is Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa.
So who's going instead?
Premier Li Qiang will represent China.
Interesting. Any reason given? Or just speculation?
Mostly speculation at this point. Some reports suggest maybe a state dinner planned for Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi could have been a factor in Xi's absence. We don't know for sure.
But the absence itself sends a message.
That's what analysts are saying. If we connect it to the bigger picture, a decision like this by a leader of Xi's stature, it signals a potential shift or special circumstance in China's approach to international diplomacy, or at least its engagement within the BRICS group specifically.
It really underscores how the mere presence or absence of key world leaders can profoundly influence these summits, doesn't it?
Absolutely. It affects the outcomes, the whole tenor of the discussions.
And the global perception of a nation's commitment to these international blocs. Sometimes, a silent gesture like not showing up speaks volumes more than any official statement could. 2, domestic landscapes and societal debates.
Okay, let's shift our focus now. We'll move to domestic landscapes, looking at social policy shifts, political currents within nations, starting in the UK.
All right.
Some significant news there. Recent reports indicate that asylum seekers arriving in the UK can now start working for courier services quite soon after they arrive.
Okay. That's a definite policy shift. And predictably, it sparked discussions.
About immigration policies, employment rules for new migrants.
Exactly. It's a really complex policy tightrope they're walking there.
Oh.
Well, it raises that important question. How does this specific development try to balance, say, immediate economic needs, maybe filling labor shortages in sectors like courier services, against broader societal concerns?
Like integration, impact on local workers, the overall asylum framework.
Precisely. It's a fascinating balancing act, one that, frankly, many nations are constantly trying to get right. It's rarely straightforward.
No, definitely not. And staying in the UK, we also saw what's being called a critical development in their political landscape.
Yeah.
A rebellion by some Labour MPs.
Over a specific welfare policy, wasn't it?
That's right. And this isn't just about, party discipline breaking down, is it?
Oh, far from it. This kind of rebellion really reflects the deeply, often emotionally charged and contentious nature of welfare policies in general.
Because they impact people so directly.
Hugely. They have a significant impact on citizens, on their daily lives, their economic stability. These internal party divisions often flare up when leadership proposals are seen as fundamentally misaligned with the party's core values, or maybe just the perceived needs of the people they represent.
It really shows the power of welfare debates.
Absolutely. They have an enduring power to shape a nation's entire domestic agenda.
Okay, let's hop across the Atlantic now to the United States. We have a rather poignant story concerning an international student.
Oh, yes.
Mamadou Tall, a British Gambian student at Cornell University. He ultimately chose what's being termed self-deportation from the U.S.
Self-deportation. That sounds like a very difficult choice.
It does. And his decision really casts a harsh light on the complexities and uncertainties of the U.S. immigration system.
Especially for students.
Particularly for international students, yeah. The challenges they face navigating these incredibly complex visa regulations, the constant worry about potential repercussions on their academic and personal lives.
It's a powerful individual story, isn't it? It shows how these systemic, often bureaucratic hurdles can just profoundly impact someone's future.
Forcing talented people to abandon promising paths.
Exactly.
Oh.
Due to logistical, legal frustrations. It's a stark reminder that immigration policy isn't just about borders and rules. It's fundamentally about people and their lives.
Moving on to U.S. political currents now, and some inter-party dynamics. The Department of Homeland Security recently issued a warning.
About a threat environment.
Yes, about a heightened threat environment.
Okay, any specifics on what that threat might be?
Well, AP News suggested this heightened threat might be linked back to Iran's history of reprisal,
Ah, okay. Following U.S. actions.
following unspecified U.S. strikes, yes. The report specifically mentioned things like covert actions, such as alleged murder-for-hire plots.
Right. So this highlights those often hidden dangers in international relations, doesn't it?
The long shadow of past conflict.
Exactly. The potential for retribution, sometimes years later, maybe through clandestine operations, it means the ripple effects of geopolitical tensions can manifest in really unexpected ways, even within a nation's borders. It's a reminder that threats aren't always overt, military ones.
And staying within U.S. politics but looking internally now, within the Democratic Party itself, there seems to have been some pretty clear infighting recently.
Over what issue?
Over a standalone Trump-Iran impeachment vote. Apparently, it was led by a single rogue Democrat, as the reports put it.
A rogue Democrat. Okay, so not party leadership.
No. And there was internal disapproval. Critics within the party were quite sharp, describing the effort as entirely unserious and selfish.
Ouch.
Yeah. Suggesting it actively undermines party unity and distracts from other, maybe more pressing legislative priorities.
It raises that crucial question about political strategy, doesn't it?
How internal disagreements affect the bigger picture.
Right. How does this kind of internal discord affect a party's overall strategic approach?
Yeah.
Does it weaken their ability to present a united front? Or maybe can occasional rogue actions actually force uncomfortable but necessary internal debates? It's that delicate dance, isn't it, between consensus and individual conviction within any major political party.
Definitely. And speaking of internal party dynamics, let's look at a specific race.
Yeah.
A high-stakes New York mayoral race. A primary battle seems to be shaping up there.
Between who?
Between a Democratic socialist lawmaker, Zohran Mamdani, and the centrist former governor, Andrew Cuomo.
Cuomo's back. Interesting. So a clear ideological clash.
Absolutely. A textbook example, really, of that friction within the Democratic Party. Mamdani's platform is very progressive, focused on housing justice, economic reforms.
And Cuomo represents the more moderate wing.
Exactly. His stance typically favors more centrist governance. So this sets up a really significant contest between the left and center factions of the Democratic Party,
That's like a microcosm, isn't it?
of the larger debate happening nationally.
Yeah. That ongoing debate over the party's future direction, its core identity, especially in major urban centers, we're seeing this play out all over.
Now let's jump over to India. Its political scene is also showing some interesting rifts. It highlights just how dynamic and sometimes tumultuous their multi-party system can be.
What's happening there?
Well, first, there's apparent confusion within the Rashtriya Janata Dal, the RJD party. It's about their stance on the chief minister of Bihar, Nitish Kumar.
Confusion how?
Tejashwi Yadav, who's a prominent RJD leader, firmly stated no entry for Kumar into any potential alliance. But his father, the veteran politician Lalu Prasad Yadav, indicated that actually doors are open.
Ah, father and son disagreeing publicly. That's fascinating.
It gives us a real glimpse into internal party dynamics, especially when you have these powerful generational figures involved.
Right. And what's really intriguing here is how these differing sentiments, maybe representing different strategic visions or political priorities, could really impact a party's strategy.
And their alliances in upcoming elections.
Absolutely crucial alliances. This kind of leadership divide, whether it's generational or purely ideological, it has the potential to dramatically reshape political landscapes. It forces parties to navigate these internal contradictions while they're trying to seek power and stability.
It also speaks to how personal and familial things can be in Indian politics sometimes.
Very much so. That's often a key underpinning of political movements there.
And another point from India. Within the Congress Party, there's been some discord. Shashi Tharoor sent a somewhat cryptic message, which included some praise for Prime Minister Modi.
Praise for Modi from within Congress, that's unusual.
It is, and it's seen as underscoring these ongoing internal dynamics within the Congress Party itself, as well as the constant political jousting with the ruling BJP. Just adds another layer to the complexity.
And there's more coalition tension this time in Maharashtra?
Yes, reports say Devendra Fadnavis issued orders against the personal staff of some ministers, and this has apparently widened a rift within the Mahayuti coalition.
Which was already under stress.
Exactly, already under stress, according to the reports. So this could potentially affect the stability of the state government there. It's another example of how internal coalition dynamics can be really fragile.
Always a delicate balancing act in coalition governments.
Definitely. Now let's shift continents again to Kenya. Thousands of Kenyans recently took to the streets
For what reason?
to mark the anniversary of those significant anti-government protests from last year, the ones that resulted in the extraordinary storming of Parliament.
Right, I remember that. So this wasn't just a small memorial.
Far from it. Reports say thousands turned out. And this significant turnout really underscores the ongoing tensions and demands for change within the nation.
It's a powerful public statement then.
Absolutely. Likely calling for greater accountability, reform, and, acknowledging these deep-rooted issues that continue to trouble Kenyan society.
So what does this all mean for the future of Kenya's political landscape? Does it signal more unrest?
It certainly signals a sustained public demand for transparency and reform from the government. Such a visible and persistent display of public discontent means politicians really can't afford to just ignore these demands indefinitely. The public's voice remains a really potent force for change there. 3, crime, justice, and social concerns. Okay, let's move on now to some, quite serious social concerns, focusing on crime and justice issues that have been reported. Starting back in India, with a really disturbing incident reported from Bengaluru. A Muslim man was allegedly attacked and then forced into chanting Jai Shri Ram.
Oh dear. When did this happen?
According to the report, it was after he'd finished prayers at a mosque. The culprits were apparently on a two-wheeler, stopped him, and forced the chant.
And the police are involved.
Yes, police are investigating. But the incident itself immediately highlights these tense interreligious dynamics that exist.
And sadly, it seems to align with, previous patterns of religious-based violence that are, frankly, a recurrent concern in parts of India.
It's not just an assault, is it, the forced chanting part?
No, it's much more than that. Forced invocation of religious slogans is seen as a deliberate violation of personal rights, of freedom of religion.
Yeah.
And it's a deeply aggressive attempt to intimidate minority communities.
It raises a crucial question then, doesn't it?
About societal harmony.
Yes. How do incidents like this fundamentally challenge freedom of religion and societal harmony in India? What are the long-term implications for a nation that constitutionally prides itself on its secular foundations?
It's a significant test, certainly, of its commitment to protecting minority rights and ensuring everyone feels safe.
Staying in India, but shifting to a different kind of threat. The National Investigation Agency, the NIA, recently revealed something quite chilling to a court in Kochi.
What was that?
They revealed that the banned organization, the Popular Front of India, or PFI, had actually compiled a hit list.
A hit list? Of who?
Of 977 individuals, and the list included a former judge from Kerala.
Nearly 1,000 people. That's alarming.
It absolutely is.
Yeah.
This revelation indicates a really significant level of threat and the potential for targeted violence from this extremist group.
It must raise serious security concerns.
Immense concerns about national security, about the effectiveness of law enforcement measures against such extremist organizations. The sheer scale of that list, it just underscores the profound magnitude of the threat and the immense challenge authorities face in ensuring public safety and, preventing potential acts of terror.
It's a stark reminder, isn't it, of the persistent and unfortunately evolving nature of extremist threats.
Now, moving to Israel. Recently surfaced videos there have sparked widespread outrage.
Videos showing what?
They appear to expose discrimination and racism in admittance to Israeli bomb shelters. Reports say they show people of color, non-Jewish residents, allegedly facing unequal treatment when they're trying to seek safety during emergencies like rocket attacks.
Wow. That's deeply troubling, if true.
The outrage is certainly understandable, and these revelations have ignited a necessary, although undoubtedly difficult, conversation about the underlying racial tensions that seem, according to these reports, to affect emergency practices and civil defense protocols in Israel.
What's really concerning here is how incidents like this force an examination of societal attitudes, doesn't it?
Definitely.
And it calls for the strict enforcement of equitable civil protection for all residents, regardless of their ethnicity, religion, or background. It forces a nation to look inward and confront potential biases that, in times of crisis can literally become a matter of life and death.
Turning out to London, there's the terribly tragic murder of a 14-year-old boy, Daniel Anjorin.
Oh, I heard about this. Attacked with a sword, wasn't it?
Yes, in northeast London. The assailant, Marcus Monzo, has since been convicted for Daniel's murder and also for attempted murder of others.
Just horrific. A 14-year-old.
It is. In this case, horrific in its details and the sheer youth of the victim, has really drawn significant attention to the issues of youth violence and the carrying of weapons by minors in London.
It must prompt urgent discussions.
It does. about effective safety measures, how these weapons are available, the need for comprehensive community interventions to try and divert young people away from violence. It's just a stark, devastating reminder of the human cost of these complex social problems.
And the profound impact these tragedies have on families, on entire communities.
Now, for something that might seem less severe, but can affect many people's daily lives and underlines a different kind of crime, infrastructure vulnerability.
Okay.
There were severe delays recently to Eurostar services, the high-speed train connecting London and mainland Europe.
Right. What caused them?
A significant cable theft incident near Paris.
Cable theft shutting down the Eurostar.
Apparently so. It wasn't just a minor inconvenience either. Reports described widespread disruption, canceled trains, thousands of passengers stranded across different cities.
Wow. That's a big impact from cable theft.
It really underscores the vulnerability of essential infrastructure to criminal activities, doesn't it? It highlights how these seemingly localized acts of crime, like stealing copper cables for scrap value, can have these far-reaching, disproportionate consequences.
Affecting critical services, international travel, even economies. It's a surprising ripple effect from what might seem like petty crime.
Definitely. And on a much more personal, neighborhood level, we have a distressing report about residents, like one named Delara, living in fear due to threats and property damage caused by neighbors.
Just general neighborly disputes escalating?
Escalating significantly, it seems. The report mentions things like knife threats and smashed windscreens.
That's terrifying. That's not just a dispute.
No. It paints a really grim picture of community relations breaking down and underlines these serious concerns about neighborhood safety. It emphasizes the need for effective law enforcement responses and community support systems when things get that bad.
Absolutely. People need to feel safe in their own homes.
Then there's a case of, well, fraud, but with a specific twist. Scottish-grown tea fraud.
Scottish-grown tea? I didn't even know that was a thing.
Apparently it is. But this man, Thomas Robinson, was jailed for falsely advertising and selling tea as Scottish-grown when it wasn't.
So, misleading consumers.
Yes, misleading consumers and also damaging the reputation of any genuine Scottish tea producers that might exist.
It highlights that broader issue of food and drink authenticity, doesn't it?
Exactly. The importance of accurately representing where products come from. People pay a premium for provenance sometimes.
True. And another instance involving trust and potential crime,
Right.
an airline investigation.
Yes, an unnamed airline launched an internal investigation that apparently uncovered the involvement of its onboard staff in theft, presumably theft from passengers or the airline itself.
That's not good for customer confidence.
No. The report says this event led to widespread discussion about accountability and ethical standards of airline employees, and it reinforces the need for stringent security protocols to protect passengers and their belongings.
You expect a certain level of trust with airline crew.
You do. Now, these last two are quite sensitive, involving personal disputes and tragedy, so we'll touch on them briefly and respectfully.
Okay.
One involves a marriage that took a sinister turn. Sitara Devi and Kaptan Nishad. Sitara allegedly threatened her husband with a knife on their wedding night and later accused her in-laws of wrongdoing, leading to complex disputes.
Sounds incredibly messy and distressing.
It does. And another tragic case from Rohtak in Uttar Pradesh. A man reportedly committed suicide after seeing an illicit video involving his wife. Shocking revelations emerged afterwards.
That's just heartbreaking. These situations are so deeply private and tragic.
They are. We mention them really just to acknowledge the reporting while respecting the profound personal tragedy involved in such cases. Economic currents and technological frontiers. All right, let's pivot now. We're going to look at the fascinating intersection of economic currents and technological frontiers, starting with something practical: personal finance and market movements. Some potentially good news for savers out there. As of June 25, 2025, our sources say you can earn up to 4.31% APY, that's annual percentage yield on savings. VIO Bank was noted for offering the top rate at that time.
4.31%. That's actually quite decent in the current climate.
It is, and it's particularly relevant in the economic landscape, as the source puts it, especially when traditional savings accounts are offering, pretty meager returns.
Right. These high-yield accounts, they present a valuable opportunity for savers to optimize their personal finance strategy, basically letting their money work a bit harder against inflation.
It definitely pays to shop around that.
Absolutely. Even a seemingly small percentage point difference can add up significantly over time.
Now, speaking of personal finances, but on the less positive side, council tax debt in the UK. The figures are pretty staggering.
How staggering.
Our sources indicate residents across England owe local authorities a jaw-dropping £6.6 billion in unpaid council tax,
Billion with a B.
with a B, and an additional $642 million accrued just over the past year.
Wow, that's a huge amount of unpaid tax.
It is. And these figures come just as households are bracing for imminent council tax rises as well.
So adding to the financial pressure.
Exactly. Adding to financial pressures during what's already a challenging economic time for many. So what does this mean for average households? Well, it signifies a deep, widespread struggle for many people to meet their basic financial obligations.
Reflecting those broader cost of living pressures we hear so much about.
Right. And it also has profound implications for local government services, doesn't it?
Absolutely. They rely heavily on council tax to fund schools, maintain roads, provide essential community support.
It becomes a vicious cycle. Rising debt leads to cuts in the very services people need.
Precisely. Now, shifting scale completely, from household debt to global wealth movements, let's talk about millionaire migration.
Okay, where are the millionaires going?
According to the Henley and Partners 2025 report, there's significant movement of millionaires globally.
And the preferred destinations.
Many are choosing to relocate to the United Arab Emirates, UAE, and the United States. And interestingly, there's a particular trend of Indian millionaires moving to the UAE.
Why the UAE and the U.S.? What's driving this?
It seems to be a mix of factors. Things like favorable tax policies, obviously.
Always a big one.
A high standard of living, perceived political stability, the allure of a luxury lifestyle, and also a generally progressive business environment.
So it's more than just taxes.
Oh, definitely. If we connect this to the bigger picture, it reflects broader, maybe even accelerating changes in global wealth migration patterns. High net worth individuals aren't just chasing financial advantages anymore.
You're looking for a whole package.
Exactly. They're actively prioritizing destinations that offer this comprehensive package: personal safety, economic opportunity, and importantly, a desirable quality of life. It's like wealth voting with its feet.
And the UAE and U.S. are winning that vote, it seems.
Clearly, according to this report.
Okay, let's shift to the world of business innovation and industry trends now, zooming in on the electric vehicle market.
Ah, yes. Always dynamic.
Tesla's main rival, the Chinese automotive giant BYD, is reportedly slowing EV production and expansion in China.
Slowing down. That's interesting given the boom we've seen.
It is. Sources close to the company indicate BYD is adopting a more conservative approach.
Why? Are they facing challenges?
It seems they're navigating potential headwinds in demand and intensified market competition.
Okay, so maybe the market's getting tougher?
That's what it suggests. What's fascinating here is how this might signal a broader shift in the competitive EV landscape. For years, it's felt like hypergrowth, rapid expansion above all else.
Right, a race for volume.
Exactly. But BYD's move suggests maybe a maturing market, perhaps transitioning from that all-out race to a more measured pace, focusing more on profitability, sustainability, especially with increasing competition and maybe market saturation in some areas.
It's definitely a key indicator to watch for the future of the global EV sector, a potential turning point.
And sticking with industry, but shifting to India's energy sector. A new strategic alliance is forming there.
Between who?
Between Adani Total Gas Ltd, ATGL, and GeoBP. GeoBP is that joint venture between Reliance Industries and BP.
Two huge players. What's the goal?
Their stated goal is to improve the availability of fuel across India.
Okay, how will they do that?
Well, this collaboration will strategically leverage GeoBP's premium petrol and diesel products, making them available at select Adani fuel stations across the country.
So, increasing the reach of GeoBP's fuels.
Precisely. The aim is to better serve the Indian consumer market. And the potential outcome, maybe more competitive fuel prices and improved services for millions of drivers.
It's a powerful example, isn't it? Two major players combining forces to enhance infrastructure and market reach.
It could definitely reshape the fuel distribution landscape and consumer choices across India.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Now, what's this about a first-day job resignation debate?
Yes, this sparked quite a conversation online. A LinkedIn post by an HR executive based in Noida went viral.
What was the post about?
It described a new candidate who resigned on their very first day of work, citing dissatisfaction with the job.
Resigning on day one. Wow.
Yeah. And this seemingly isolated incident just ignited a widespread debate on work culture and employee engagement. It really hit a nerve.
But you can imagine, it raises all sorts of questions.
It does. Questions about employee expectations. Are they unrealistic sometimes? Or are companies failing to set clear ones? Questions about the effectiveness of company onboarding processes, the clarity of job descriptions, and just the overall corporate culture.
It really forces employers to think, doesn't it?
It does. It raises that important question for employers everywhere. What does this trend, even if anecdotal, tell us about the evolving expectations in the modern workplace? And how crucial is it to get that alignment right between employee and employer from literally day one?
To prevent those immediate departures, it suggests a potential mismatch right from the recruitment stage sometimes.
Could be. Now let's move on to technological advancements and their impact, starting with Tesla again, but this time robotaxis.
Ah, the autonomous driving dream. Or nightmare, depending on who you ask.
Well, exactly. They've been introduced in Austin, Texas, and the reception has been decidedly ambivalent. Mixed feelings.
How so? What are people saying?
It's a classic case, really. Innovation meeting real-world challenges and, well, public skepticism. On one side, you have some Austin residents who see them as a technologically advanced solution.
Potentially reducing car ownership, easing traffic.
That's the promise. But then, on the other hand, a significant number of people are raising legitimate concerns about the safety and reliability.
Have there been incidents?
There have been reports of the robotaxis occasionally violating traffic laws or just behaving unpredictably, which, understandably, makes people nervous.
So it's that ongoing tension, isn't it, between the promise of this revolutionary tech and the absolute need for public trust and proven safety.
Especially when these things are sharing our roads.
Exactly. Public acceptance is key for autonomous vehicles.
Now, something for the developers listening. Google has made a notable move.
What's that?
They've launched Gemini CLI. That's command line interface. It's a new open source AI tool.
Designed to work with their Gemini AI models.
Yes. And crucially, it can run locally, right from a developer's own terminal.
Ah, okay. Running locally is a big deal. Why is that significant?
Well, it aims to bring the power of AI closer to the daily workflows of developers. It basically simplifies things, enhances their capabilities by letting them interact directly with these powerful AI models right in their native coding environment without constantly relying on cloud calls for everything.
So making AI more integrated into their day-to-day work.
Exactly. What's really fascinating here is seeing how AI is rapidly becoming more directly integrated into everyday tools and development processes. It's moving from being this abstract thing in the cloud to a tangible local resource for individual creators.
It sort of democratizes access to sophisticated AI, makes it more practical.
That's a good way to put it. And speaking of practical AI applications, Ring the smart doorbell company.
I know them.
They've rolled out a new feature using artificial intelligence. It provides specific text descriptions of the motion activity detected by their cameras and doorbells.
So instead of just motion detected, it tells you what motion.
Kind of. The aim is to offer a more detailed and useful understanding of the surroundings and activities captured. So maybe distinguishing between a person, a vehicle, or an animal, or describing the path of motion.
That could actually be quite useful for smart home security. Gives you more context instantly.
That's the idea. Improving the user experience, making the alerts more meaningful.
Interesting. Now this next one sounds amazing. Drones for Everest cleanup.
Isn't it incredible? We all know Everest has this escalating waste problem. Reports estimate something like 50 metric tons of trash left behind from years and years of expeditions. It's literally a mountain of garbage.
It's shocking, really. So how are drones helping?
Well, a Nepal-based company called Airlift Technology is innovatively using drones. And here's the clever part. They're using them not just to carry supplies up to the climbers.
But to bring the garbage down.
Exactly, to bring down garbage from the mountain.
That's brilliant. What a great application of drone tech.
It really is.
Yeah.
And it's a multifaceted approach. It's obviously eco-friendly because it helps clear the trash, but it also significantly reduces the immense physical burden on the Sherpas, who've traditionally had to undertake these incredibly perilous cleanup efforts themselves.
Right. Carrying heavy loads down treacherous slopes, this makes it safer for them too.
Absolutely. It's just a fantastic example of leveraging advanced technology to tackle a really formidable environmental and humanitarian problem. A practical, sustainable way to help preserve one of the world's most iconic natural wonders.
Truly inspiring stuff.
And finally, in the tech realm, just a quick mention for the gadget fans, the design of the eagerly awaited Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 7 has apparently leaked online.
The next generation of foldable phones always generates buzz.
It does. Intense speculation, as you'd expect. The leaked images suggest a refined and more polished look compared to the previous models.
So Samsung's continuing to tweak that foldable design.
Seems so, indicating their commitment to enhancing both the aesthetics and the functionality of these foldable phones. The market's still evolving there. V human spirit, achievements, and cultural currents. Okay, let's round out our deep dive today. We'll look at the enduring human spirit, some incredible achievements, and fascinating cultural currents from around the globe.
Sounds good. A nice way to finish.
We'll start with the world of sports, always full of drama, excellence, and resilience.
Absolutely. Where do we begin?
Let's talk cricket first. Some interesting insights came out about team dynamics, particularly during that T20 World Cup 2024 final.
Oh, yeah.
Indian captain Rohit Sharma apparently candidly admitted to experiencing panic at a critical point in the match against South Africa.
Really? He admitted that. That's quite honest for a captain.
It is. And then he shared how Virat Kohli's calm demeanor and stabilizing innings at that moment profoundly soothed the nerves of the dressing room.
Wow. That speaks volumes, doesn't it, about the psychological side of high-stakes games?
Totally. And the invaluable importance of those experienced players, the anchors who can hold things together under immense pressure.
It's a powerful reminder, isn't it? Even at that elite level, mental fortitude, leadership under duress. It's just as crucial as raw talent.
Definitely. And speaking of talent, that Indian side has been in a remarkable phase of dominance recently. Reports highlighted multiple batsmen scoring centuries in a single test match.
Which reflects incredible depth of talent, obviously, but also that technical skill and sheer mental fortitude needed for test cricket.
Though not always harmonious.
Yeah.
Former Indian cricketer Gautam Gambhir apparently faced some flack for his response to Rishabh Pant's exceptional performance.
Ah, the high-pressure environment of sports celebrities and punditry. Always opinions flying around.
Indeed. Now, moving from the cricket pitch to the tennis court. Some hopes were dashed recently. Lo Poisson, who was a standout performer at the French Open, Roland Garros.
Yes, I remember her run.
Well, her attempt to make her first main draw appearance at Wimbledon unfortunately ended. She lost in the first round of qualifying.
That's tough, especially after showing such promise.
It is. Despite her promising momentum from Paris, she couldn't advance at Wimbledon. It just highlights how intensely tough, how unforgiving Grand Slam qualifications can be.
It's a brutal meritocracy, isn't it? The margins are just incredibly fine. Even moments of brilliance don't guarantee you'll get through. Shows the depth of talent in pro tennis.
Absolutely.
Huh.
Now, over to sprinting. We might have a genuine sensation on our hands here.
Oh, who's this?
A 17-year-old Australian named Gout. He's made a stunning impact. He didn't just break his own 200-meter record, he obliterated it.
What time did he run?
An incredible 20.02 seconds, which also surpassed the Australian senior national record.
20.02 at 17, that's flying.
It really is. And what's truly astonishing, the reports note his performance even outshone Usain Bolt's debut time at a similar age.
Wow. Okay, that signals the arrival of a major new talent. Potential future dominance in the 200 meters.
You have to think so. Here's where it gets really interesting. Imagine being that fast at just 17 that you're already drawing favorable comparisons to arguably the greatest sprinter of all time.
That's incredible pressure, but also incredible potential. Gout. Definitely a name to remember.
Agreed. And from the running track to the chessboard now. A captivating story about a young chess prodigy's near upset.
Against a top player.
Against the top player. 9-year-old Arit Kapil from Delhi came close to beating the reigning world chess champion Magnus Carlsen in an online match.
A 9-year-old almost beat Carlsen. Seriously.
Now, Carlsen, the seasoned champion, ultimately prevailed, as you'd expect. But the fact that it was a near upset is just a powerful testament to Arit's immense potential.
And it speaks to the rising tide of talent within India's chess circles, too, doesn't it?
Absolutely. It serves as a true inspiration for other young enthusiasts globally. Shows that with dedication, even the youngest minds can genuinely challenge the very best in the world. It's a beautiful illustration of intellectual prowess.
Fantastic story.
Now, let's explore arts, entertainment, and those vibrant cultural echoes reverberating around the world.
Okay.
Starting with global entertainment trends. There's a sensational K-pop title, apparently called K-pop Demon Hunters.
Intriguing title.
Isn't it? It clinched the #1 spot globally for a couple of days in late June, topped the charts in 26 countries, secured a top 10 spot in 93 countries.
Oh, that's massive reach.
It unequivocally underscores the global impact and widespread appeal of K-pop culture, doesn't it? Shows its ability to transcend language barriers, blend exciting genres like supernatural adventure here with its signature musical style.
K-pop's global dominance continues. And K-dramas too, right? They're getting a lot of attention.
They are. For those seeking something maybe with more narrative depth, India Today put out a list of top 8 dark K-dramas on Netflix. They're being lauded for redefining the thriller genre.
How so? What makes them stand out?
They're characterized by their depth, intricate plot lines, and intense atmospheres, delivering really complex characters, unexpected twists. It highlights the innovative, sophisticated storytelling emerging from Korea's entertainment industry. They're not afraid to go dark and complex.
Sounds compelling. I might have to check those out.
And looking at Indian cinema and television specifically, we saw several curated must-watch lists mentioned in our sources.
Like what?
Like 7 must-watch Malayalam thrillers, including titles like Rekachitram and Pravinkudu Shapu, also lists featuring the esteemed actor Raghubir Yadav, and even 7 fun Hindi romantic comedy films to watch this July.
So showcasing the diversity within Indian entertainment.
Exactly, from intense thrillers to fun rom-coms. And there was an update on a popular show, Panchayat Season 3.
Yes, that's eagerly awaited. What's the news?
Just confirmation from Chandan Kumar about its arrival on Prime Video. It continues to be praised for its authentic storytelling, the performances of the cast, and that unique blend of humor and social commentary it does so well.
It's got a huge following for a reason. It feels very grounded.
Now, shifting slightly, looking at how the entertainment industry intersects with broader societal or political issues, there was a casting controversy involving a Pakistani actor.
Oh, what happened?
The makers of a film called Sardarji 3 had to issue clarification. They stated that the Pakistani actor Hania Amir was signed for the film before the recent Pahalgam attack happened.
So addressing the timing amidst those heightened cross-border tensions between India and Pakistan.
Exactly. What's fascinating here is how these external political and social circumstances can directly impact the entertainment industry, casting decisions, and public perception. It's a tricky line to walk.
It really is. And another example of industry issues, body image. Actress Aisha Gupta recently shared a distressing experience.
What did she recount? She talks about an industry figure openly advocating for her to undergo no surgery, just bluntly telling her she should get it done.
Wow. That's incredibly inappropriate and unprofessional.
It is. And her bravely recounting this incident vividly underscores the relentless scrutiny and unrealistic beauty standards that are, sadly, still so prevalent within the entertainment industry.
It's a clear example of that pervasive body-shaming culture, isn't it? Despite growing awareness, it continues to exert immense pressure, especially on public figures, particularly women.
It really raises that important, deeply human question. What does this kind of constant, appearance-focused pressure tell us about the expectations placed upon those in the public eye? And that ongoing struggle for authenticity and acceptance in an industry often obsessed with superficiality.
It's a tough environment. Good on her for speaking out.
Definitely. Now, for something completely different, luxury and leisure. Blue Diamond Resorts launched a new luxury brand.
Celebrating an anniversary, perhaps.
Commemorating 15 years, yes.
Yeah.
The new brand highlights immersive features like glow-lit pools for starlit swimming, art and culinary workshops, jazz nights, wellness programs.
Sounds very high-end.
It does. They even mentioned digital detox zones, catering to that desire to switch off, I suppose.
Interesting. Let's touch on some cultural and spiritual insights now.
Okay. One source compiled some of Guru Nanak Dev Ji's life-changing teachings and quotes.
What are the core themes?
His philosophy emphasizes universal values. The oneness of God, the importance of selfless service, seva, the denouncement of superstitions, and the fundamental equality of all humans.
Yeah, powerful, timeless teachings.
They really are. Offering enduring ethical guidance that transcends religious boundaries, promoting harmony and compassion.
And then on the other side of the belief spectrum, something about astrology.
Yes, an intriguing cultural belief tied to the auspicious Sawan period in 2025. Apparently, Saturn's retrograde motion during this time is thought by some to signal a significant turn of good fortune for 3 specific zodiac signs.
Bringing them luck, wealth, career success.
That's the belief. What's fascinating here isn't whether it's scientifically true, but the enduring cultural importance of astrology in many parts of the world. How planetary movements are believed to influence daily life, offering hope, maybe a framework for understanding one's destiny to millions of people. It's a powerful cultural force.
It certainly is.
Now let's move into our final section. Health, wellness, and advancements in learning. And we have some truly fantastic news to start with here.
Oh, good. What is it?
It's about the fight against malaria. Forot Biotech and GlaxoSmithKline GSK have made a significant move. They've cut the price of the world's first malaria vaccine to under $5 a dose.
Under $5. That's huge. That vaccine was much more expensive initially, wasn't it?
It was. This massive price reduction is driven by manufacturing efficiencies, they say, and it's expected to vastly improve access for children across various regions, especially in vulnerable communities.
This could potentially save thousands of lives annually. It's a genuine milestone in the global fight against malaria.
Absolutely. So what does this mean for global public health? It's a giant leap towards making life-saving vaccines affordable, accessible to the most vulnerable populations. It offers this powerful glimmer of hope in combating a disease that disproportionately affects the world's poorest children.
Truly wonderful news. What's next in health?
In heart health, a recent study revealed a fascinating kind of dual trend.
Okay.
It indicates a significantly decreased likelihood of dying from a heart attack, which is, of course, excellent news.
Better treatments, faster response times.
Presumably, medical tech, public health campaigns, awareness, all contributing. However, the study also points to an increase in deaths from other lethal heart conditions.
So progress in one area highlights challenges elsewhere.
Exactly. This dichotomy is really insightful. It highlights those remarkable improvements in heart attack survival, but simultaneously, it underscores the critical importance of maybe shifting some focus towards these other prevalent heart conditions, heart failure, arrhythmias, etc., that are now becoming more common causes of death.
It shows how the medical landscape is always dynamic, doesn't it? Success in one area reveals the next challenge, prompts an evolution in research and public health strategies.
Precisely, addressing the full spectrum of cardiac health. Unfortunately, though, there's also been a setback reported.
Oh, in what area?
Regarding optimism surrounding HIV elimination, apparently due to waning United States governmental support, specifically for PEPFAR.
PEPFAR. That's the President's Emergency Fund for AIDS Relief. That's been hugely successful, hasn't it?
Immensely successful over decades. But this reduction in funding, according to the report, jeopardizes progress that has been so hard-won.
And raises significant concerns about continued access to HIV care and prevention services for millions globally.
Exactly. It's a stark reminder, isn't it?
Yeah.
That even the most successful, critically important public health battles require sustained political will, sustained funding to reach their goals.
Without that consistent commitment, progress can not only stall but tragically reverse, putting countless lives back at risk.
A sobering thought. Now, for something practical again, knee pain prevention.
Always useful advice. Who's offering it?
Dr. Shriyam Nene, who happens to be married to the famous actress Maturi Dixit, offered some straightforward, practical tips. Things like maintaining a healthy diet and incorporating walking into one's routine.
Simple, accessible advice. Lifestyle changes.
Right. Framing it as these accessible, non-pharmaceutical, lifestyle-based interventions that can make a real difference in preventing common issues like knee pain. Sometimes the simple things work best.
True. Now this next one sounds incredible. The rarest blood type discovered.
Yes. This is quite remarkable. Researchers have identified a new blood type called Guada negative.
And it's rare because
It was found in only one individual worldwide. After meticulous research that spanned over a decade and a half, this makes it the rarest known blood type in the world.
only one person. Wow. What are the implications?
Well, it carries profound medical implications. It presents immense challenges for finding compatible blood for transfusions or for organ transplants for anyone who might share this incredibly rare blood type in the future.
It raises a really important question for medical professionals globally, doesn't it?
How will they adapt?
Yeah. How will diagnostic systems, blood banks, supply chains adapt to ensure that people with such ultra-rare blood types can still receive the life-saving care they might need? It just powerfully underscores the incredible genetic diversity of humanity.
And the complex logistical challenges that diversity presents for modern medicine.
Absolutely fascinating.
Let's move to education reform now, back in India. The Central Board of Secondary Education, the CBSE, has announced a significant change for the Class 10 board exams.
What's changing?
Starting from 2026, they will conduct them twice a year, once in February and again in May.
Twice a year.
Yeah.
Why the change?
The stated aim is to be more student-friendly, to significantly reduce the end-of-the-year exam burden, that intense pressure cooker effect.
Spreading out the assessment load.
Seems to be the idea. It aligns directly with the goals of India's new national education policy, which advocates for a more holistic, continuous, and less pressure-filled approach to learning and assessment.
It's a fundamental shift, then, towards easing student stress, promoting learning that values continuous engagement over just high-stakes, single-event performance. Could be very positive.
Potentially, yes. And finally today, let's look up towards space exploration and human endeavor.
Always exciting. What's happening?
We've just witnessed a truly historic private space entrance launch.
Private, with international astronauts.
Yes. Astronauts from India, Poland, and Hungary were launched together. This marks the first time in more than 40 years that Poland and Hungary have sent representatives into space. And critically, the mission was privately funded.
That's a huge milestone for private spaceflight. Who's the Indian astronaut?
Shubhanshu Shukla. His participation makes him the second Indian astronaut in space after a gap of 41 years. Their destination is the International Space Station, the ISS, with docking as the next critical step.
So this isn't just about national pride, is it? It's about the changing nature of space exploration.
Exactly. It signifies a pivotal collaborative and commercial move into space, expanding access beyond just traditional government space agencies like NASA or Roscosmos.
It really highlights that rapidly expanding landscape of space travel, doesn't it? Heralding a new era of international cooperation and commercialization in humanity's quest to reach for the stars.
Absolutely. And for those inspired by all this, another source, India Today again, curated a list of 7 must-watch space films and shows.
Ah, for some armchair exploration.
Right, chosen for their impact, storytelling, and cinematic quality. They apparently delve into both the science and fiction aspects of space exploration, often exploring themes like the human spirit's resilience, the quest for knowledge, and the exploration of the unknown. Something to watch after we finish here, perhaps.
Which sounds like a plan.
Cup 6.
Outro. Well, we've certainly covered a lot of ground today. We've journeyed through urgent global conflicts, examined some really nuanced domestic policy shifts, explored groundbreaking tech, celebrated some incredible human achievements.
And delved into fascinating cultural corners, too. That really is a lot to unpack. But hopefully you, listening, now feel incredibly well informed, maybe with a slightly deeper understanding of the world's complexities.
We hope so. And as we wrap up this deep dive, maybe leave you with this thought to consider. In this world, absolutely saturated with constant, often conflicting information, what responsibility do we as consumers of news and information actually have?
A responsibility to do what?
To critically examine not just what is being reported, but how it's being presented, especially when it touches on sensitive global or political issues. You know, discerning the actual narrative from the rhetoric, from the spin. It's a real challenge we all face every day in this digital age. Something worth thinking about.
That's a great point to end on. A crucial skill for navigating today's world. Well, thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning.
And keep